All right, everybody. Welcome to Art of MMA, the podcast. Yes, you heard me right. This is not a mirage. This is real. It's been a couple years in the making, but we finally did it. For those that have followed artofmma.com, we opened up in 2013. And one of the things we've always prided ourselves on was interviewing up-and-coming fighters and people involved in the business. We talked to a few legends like Burt Watson and some other people. But we've always been about the fighters first. And that's why I'm excited to know that we have a couple fighters on joining us today. I want to go ahead and introduce the great cast we got going today, and then we'll go from there. But first up, Sergio DaSilva, the Savage. He has been fighting for quite a while. We were just talking about a funny story off the line that he already fought the Funk Master, who's getting ready to fight soon for a title. Sergio, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, Mike. Thanks a lot, man. I'm excited for this new project. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I know you guys always supported me from the beginning, so it's glad to give back a little bit, and I hope you have a good time on the show.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you. Plus, you got some podcasting experience with the Fight Cave and some other stuff you've been doing, so good to have your expertise on here. Another guy joining me right now, another person we've supported for a long time, Brandon the Mechanic, Cuttino, kickboxer. He's been in glory. He's been, doing his thing for a while. Brandon, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, man. Thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to doing this with you guys.
I'm excited to have both of you. Real quick, and talk about a couple things as far as Art of MMA. You can find all the content right now on dcxiv.com. That's another website I started a long time ago. It's a little more personal to me, but it's also more universal. It's got the sports, it's got the entertainment, lifestyle, and culture, and all the other stuff I've done throughout the years. So it made more sense just to keep everything together, make it easier to find all the content. And then we can also do a few other podcasts that I got going on there. But Art of MMA is going to be first, something I've been wanting to do for quite a long time. As these guys will tell you, we've been talking about it for at least a couple years. So I won't bore you with all that. Anybody can feel free to reach out to me. Fighters, if you guys want to hop on, MG at Art of MMA still works. Please hit me up. I absolutely want to get all you guys on. If you guys are ready, let's go ahead and jump into it. We want to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about, obviously, UFC Vegas 11. Covington versus Woodley. We're going to talk a little bit more about Cowboy Cerrone, a little bit introspective, get everybody's opinion on that. And then we're going to go ahead and finish up and talk about some future events. Obviously, we got Izzy versus Costa this weekend. Some big stuff going on. So first up, guys, let's just go ahead and address the main event. Covington, Woodley, what you guys think? Sergio, you want to start?
Yeah, man, hard or mine, because I wanted Woodley to knock his ass out so bad.
I think we all did. I think that's universal.
Shit, bro. I feel like I saw the same Woodley that we've seen the last couple of fights. Just a little bit of gun shy, a little hesitant. I know it's easier said than done because I've been in there. I know when you fight that caliber of a wrestler, you don't want to overcommit to your strikes. I think early in the first round, I think Woodley did what I thought he was going to do. I think he was going to throw something heavy early. And what happened, Covington got under him, took him down. He wasted a lot of energy to have to come back to the feet. Unless you've been in there and really felt that type of pressure, I've been blessed to have trained with high-level wrestlers, Division I wrestlers, All-American wrestlers, national champion wrestlers. When you get taken down like that, man, especially early into the fight, the amount of energy that you have to waste to get up, it's very, very takes a big toll on you. And I think that right there dictated the pace of the fight. And I think when Woodley got taken down early in the fight, I think he knew that he didn't want to be down there again. And if that meant being a little bit gun shy and holding off on a significant strike, then I think he did that. And that made the fight easier for Colby.
What do you think, Brandon?
Honestly, my head said Woodley, my heart said Woodley. I thought Woodley was going to take it. I was believing him when he said he was going to let his hands fly, because he was like, yo, I'm going to let my hands fly this fight. I kind of was thinking it was going to be another Josh Koscheck type of fight, two wrestlers going at it. Also two of the things, like he knew he trained with Covington, so he knows how he operates. And I just thought, man, he knows Covington probably doesn't have the power to stop him, so he was just gonna let it go. But then, like, you watch the fight, and it's kind of like what Sergio said, like he was only throwing like one shot. He was just looking for that right hand, which is like, I don't understand when he hangs with like one of the best striking coaches out there, which is Duke Rufus. It's like you would think that his striking game would have evolved, because this isn't like his first camp with him. He's been with him for like, I want to say at least three or four camps already. You know, like, I mean, especially when he was going through his title defense, he was with Duke Rufus. And, of course, he had Dean Thomas, you know, which is his head guy there. But it's like, to me, it just seemed like he just had like a first 2 rounds. And after that, it was all downhill. Like, I think, like Sergio said, like once he got taken down, maybe he knew it was a wrap. Because the thing, too, I don't understand is like he talks about himself being a great D1 wrestler, but his last 2 fights, actually, no, his last 3 fights, especially with Usman and Covington, 2, you know, real good wrestlers, he wasn't taking them down. They were taking him down.
What stood out to me, though, in his last 3 fights is that Burns took him down. That one.
True.
I knew Colby had the better wrestling. I knew he was going to take him down. But the Burns fight is what shocked me. I mean, he got taken down. But, you know, it's different. Wrestling, MMA wrestling, it's very different.
I'll go a step further, though, because, like, as much as I agree with you guys, like, my heart said Woodley. Like, everybody I mean, that's Colby's gimmick, right? He wants people to hate him. And my heart said Woodley, and I want him to knock him out, and I want it to be punishment. But my head said Covington, because Woodley hasn't looked like Woodley since even before the Usman fight.
Yeah.
And Usman dominated him. Like, we kept saying the whole Usman fight, all right, let it go, Woodley, let it go. You're losing. I mean, Rufus and all those guys in the corner, you need a knockout. And what did he come out in the 5th round? Nothing. Like, I don't know if it's a gas tank issue lately. I don't know if it's just being out, like, not having the same passion he had. But from the beginning of that fight, when he tried to dap gloves with Covington right off the referee break in the beginning, I was like, and of course, Kobe's like, no. And
you know, it's funny you bring that up, Mike. That stood out to me as well.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you don't want to, you had fake bad blood.
Yes.
Like Woodley was trying to pump up a fight, and Covington was like, I really don't like you. And as much as Covington, I believe most of his stuff is in Act 2, Woodley, from the beginning, I didn't think he wanted to be in there. I think he wanted the payday, and I don't think he wanted to be in there.
Yeah, when he tried to touch the gloves and Colby turned around, I said, fuck. I said, that was the end right there. You're showing the guy that it's like, okay, you know, no bad blood. And I think that for Woodley to win that fight, he needed to make it into an ugly schoolyard fight. You need to get no technique, nothing. Like, literally go out there, throwing your hands and literally throwing haymakers. Like, go out there and try to knock his head off, because that was his only – I didn't think he was going to outpoint Colby, because I think Colby was going to keep trying to take him down. I think he needed to make that an ugly fight and make it a personal fight, especially all the shit talking that Covington does. And like you said, you know, yeah, it's gimmicky, but now it's getting like, yo, especially with everything going on in the world, it's getting like, yo, personal. Like, he went to Brazil and he fought Damian Maia. I'm Brazilian too. You know, he went to
Brazil.
And he goes, yo, these filthy animals. Like,
he pulled the Chael Sonnen.
He pulled the Chael Sonnen, but let me tell you something. If they would have got their hands on him out there, it wouldn't have been good for you. You got to remember, this is a third world country, man. You know, like, it could be WWE and, you know, and have a scripted thing here in the States where you're going through the back and then you're like, you know, you have security and all that. You're talking about, you got to be careful. Like, these guys don't know what they're getting into. Like, someone will kill him out there. Like, so with that being said, I thought that Tyron Woodley needed to take it personal. And when he put his hand out like that to dab him, I was like, fuck, man, that was the complete opposite of what you needed to do.
So let me ask this, out of fairness, because former champ, one of the best welterweight champs we've had in a while, minus obviously GSP. How much do you think the rib played into it? He said he popped it earlier and then popped it for good. Do you think it was actually really a factor, or?
No, I think he loses that fight either way, because he let it become too non-personal. Like, he was okay with, like, losing a decision. I think he just didn't want to get finished, which he ultimately did. I just think he didn't want to fight. That's my opinion. I think he was going to lose that fight no matter what, rib injury or not.
What do you think, Brandon?
I mean, he was losing that fight regardless. He lost. He was losing every round. So, I mean, I don't know when he hurt the rib, but either way, he was still losing regardless. Like, he was down on points. Like, I think they said, like, he hasn't won. I think he's lost like his last like 14 rounds. You know,
yeah, not even close either.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean,
I saw the X-ray. I mean, it's a real injury, but I felt bad because
yeah, I mean, that's definitely real, but he was losing that fight regardless. I mean,
I felt bad because of his history, but like when he screamed out in pain, I was like, man, he's looking for a way out.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate he really did break his rib, but yeah, I agree with all you guys. So that's pretty much it. As far as them, I mean, where do you think it goes? Do you think Covington waits for Usman, or do you think he fights Edwards? Or
I think Covington gets the freak, my man, his old boy.
I don't think he's getting Masvidal. I think Masvidal is waiting for Diaz.
And I think Masvidal's too smart to take that fight too.
True.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get taken down.
I think he don't want it to get taken down. I think Masvidal has very good takedown defense, and I think he can catch Colby, but I don't think that's a smart fight for Masvidal. I think Masvidal's trying to get paid right now, and I don't blame him. He's been in the game for a long time.
Yeah.
I like Masvidal, actually.
I love watching Masvidal fight.
Yeah, no, but I like him personally, too. I cornered against him before, and, we have a funny story. We played blackjack one time, like, broke my playing blackjack. He's a cool dude. And I also think he's another one that, like, now he's been doing more the gimmick, coming out with the, was it a Gucci robe and the street Jesus and all that. I kind of don't like that so much. I liked him more before when he wasn't speaking so much. Regardless, I don't think he's looking for that kind of fight. I think the fight that Masvidal's looking for is like a Diaz fight, a McGregor fight where he's going to sit there.
Money or the belt, like he keeps saying.
Yeah. If I'm him, I'm not fighting Colby. I mean, why would you want to fight Colby, honestly?
Nobody is gonna fight Edwards. They don't want him. Like I said, I think Covington, he's gonna wait and see who wins between Burns and Usman. I don't think anybody's gonna fight Edwards. They don't, for some reason. Nobody wants to fight him. Nobody wants to.
I actually just saw Thompson called him out on Twitter, and Thompson's like the nicest guy too. Stephen Thompson. And he called him. I said he's been trying to fight him and blah blah blah. So I mean,
I think a lot of people. I don't know. I don't think Edwards is kind of like the boogeyman, like you're saying, Brandon. I think most people actually aren't really afraid of him. Maybe they should be. I mean, the man has put together quite a resume. I mean, he's obviously stuck in London right now with the whole COVID situation, which canceled a couple fights already. But
I mean, like Edwards. I mean, I don't think Edwards is a boogeyman. I just think that people look at him and be like, "What is he gonna do for my career?"
He needs them more than they need him.
Covington, he just wants the belt. Masvidal, he wants to get paid. I think Masvidal and Edwards would be a good fight since they had that heat. But Masvidal knows that's not going to be money for him. Like you said, he wants a Diaz, he wants a McGregor.
That's the fight right there, Masvidal and Edwards. I think that's a good fight for both guys. I think that, but like you said, yeah, Masvidal. See, the problem with Masvidal is that he got a taste of that money fight.
Mm-hmm.
He got a taste of it now. So now he's like,
not going backwards.
I'm not going backwards. Yeah, he's not going backwards.
I mean, that's unfortunate for Edwards because he's like the next guy, but A, he's stuck with COVID, and B, he hadn't even want to fight him.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, numbers don't lie, right? The guy's on a crazy streak right now. He's beat some really good fighters. But I don't know. Edwards doesn't stick out for me, stand out. Out of those top 5 guys there, I think he's the one that, like, I'm least impressed with. And
his resume isn't as deep. Like, he's beat a bunch of people, but not a lot of people you really know.
Yeah, and I didn't like the fact that he got sunned in his hometown by Masvidal, and that didn't break into a bigger fight.
Well, some people do it on the stage, and some people do it everywhere. I mean, we all know Jorge is legit no matter where. You can go back to the Kimbo days. Masvidal is going to fight you.
Yeah, but you're not coming to Queens, New York, and you're going to punch me in the face like that, and you're just going to walk away. I'll tell you that much.
Yep.
Do we think anything's next for Woodley, or is that it?
I mean, I think I saw he did an IG live. I think it was yesterday, basically saying like, he's not going to retire. He's not going to leave Duke Rufus and Dean Thomas. I just think, man, he probably just chills out for the rest of the year. Maybe he'll be the one who will fight Edwards. Maybe he's the one who'll step up and fight him. But we'll see.
They've been trying to make that fight too, but honestly, as much as Woodley hasn't looked great, right? Let's be honest here, though. Last 15 rounds, who did he fight? Burns was obviously the
championship level people.
Arguably the best guy in that division right now. I can see Burns beating anyone. Honestly, I think he's going to beat Usman.
I do too.
So you have Burns, he lost to. Then he lost to Usman, who's a champ. And then he lost to Colby, who was the former. So, yeah, he hasn't looked great, but he hasn't looked great to guys that can all be champions. Right? Let's see Woodley versus a guy, in the top 10, maybe towards the lower bottom, maybe a 7th ranked guy, 8th grade, 9th ranked guy. I think maybe we see a better Woodley,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. It actually reminds me of, and this is a completely different situation, but when Ronda Rousey first got knocked out, and then instead of giving her a couple fights to get her confidence back up, then they put her with Nunes, who then knocked her out too. And she never had that chance to really see if she still wanted it.
That's what I'm saying. Woodley's fought like three guys that are like back.
They're all champions. Yeah.
Like a fight with Edwards would make sense, I think, for him, or maybe even somebody a little lower, like a 10th ranked guy, a guy coming up, Maybe
I mean, I could even see him getting in with Masvidal, because I don't think Jorge would be intimidated by all. And,
yeah, but Masvidal just helped him out in this camp. I mean, I think.
Well, now they're friends. It's probably not going to happen. But.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little tougher fight to make.
Maybe we'll get Woodley versus Lawler too, since they're kind of both on the decline.
I would watch that.
Yeah, see, that's a good fight.
All right, let's move on from them. Let's talk about the co-main. I guess if there really was a co-main on this card, it was really Covington, Woodley, and then a bunch of really great fights. By the way, shout out to Damon Jackson. We had him on for an interview on Art of MMA a long time ago, back when he was fighting with Legacy, and I guess he still kind of is, but right before he made his first UFC run and lost a couple fights. Super excited to see that guy get the submission over Bektic, man. That really pumped me up. I don't know if did you guys get a chance to watch some of the prelims?
Yeah, no, I watched every fight, man.
Same.
Yeah, that really pumped me up. That guillotine he caught in the third round, like that, I was happy. He's one of the good guys in the sport. I was happy to see him.
Look, man, I'm not perfect, and I fought, a lot of fights. I've made a lot of mistakes. One thing I don't understand, and it happens at a high level, like in the UFC, Bellator all the time, and I don't get it. Maybe because I'm a grappler at heart, I see this often. This is the first lesson one of the first lessons I learned when I started grappling. If you see a guy constantly going for the same submission over and over, at some point, I tweeted this, at some point, you've got to respect it, right? If a guy is doing a triangle on me the whole time from his back, and you see he's comfortable there, and he keeps shooting up for that triangle, every time, at some point, I got to be like, okay, this is a triangle guy. Because everyone who's trained before knows that in the gym, you always have the guys who do the same submission.
Yep.
Not a lot of guys. So I try to teach my guys that are coming up now to have an arsenal, a variety of different, to be able to go from omoplata to triangles to arm bars to head and arm triangle. And that guy, Damon
Jackson,
from the opening bell, when Bektic tried to take him down, he was going for that guillotine.
I mean, his nickname is the Leech. He's going to hold on to your neck.
So exactly. So, after the second round, I'm looking at Bektic, and I think I've even tweeted, I'm like, bro, at some point, you got to be careful with that. You got to watch your neck. Stop going for takedowns, or at least go for something. Go for a single, like pop your head, do something, especially at that high level. Again, easier said than done. But you see guys who get caught, and I'm like, man, that guy's going for that same choke. He's going to catch him eventually. So,
it reminds me of what was that wiry Cody?
Yeah, with the guillotine, yeah.
Cody. Yeah, just would always go for the guillotine. Tall, skinny. Why can't I remember his last name right now?
Was it Cody McKenzie? No?
Yeah, I think so, McKenzie, yeah. And he would just always go for the neck. And like you said, some people that's their specialty.
Yeah, so you got to watch that, So I think not to discredit Damon at all, but I think Bektic kind of didn't respect the submission, and that's what ultimately was.
Especially somebody who's fought that long. Like Damon been in this game a long time. Much like you guys, like he's been around, interviewing him back in the day. Same thing, like, and another guy I'm excited to see doing well is Tyson Nam. Like, how long has he been around? Like
him, listen,
and he's back knocking people out.
Listen, I tweeted also. That's another thing I did, and I said, you know what? He's probably the most powerful flyweight out there right now, out of every guy in the world. If I could think of one, I've seen him knock out two guys cold that I was like, oh man, for that weight division. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy that's very overlooked. I mean, if he wins convincingly, but if he loses, it'll be like a decision when the guys take him down. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be a force in that division.
Yeah. Before we get to more of the main card, you guys got any other preliminary fights that really stood out to you?
I was gonna say, one homegirl. Was it
Jessica Rose Clark?
Yes, she. I mean, dude, I feel bad for her opponent. Girl's getting married in 3 weeks, and she gets her nose smashed like that. Like, dang, girl, like, protect your face. You got to get ready for those wedding photos, But yeah, I mean, she looked real good. I guess her switching her gym to a CSA has really helped her out. She looks good. And then the other girl fight, not Mackenzie Durham, the other girl fight, which I think she went up against the girl from Italy, where again we were just talking about submissions.
Oh, Silva versus
That girl was
Barella.
looking for a triangle like the entire time, and I'm looking, I'm like, yo, she's about to go armbar, and then boom,
Yeah.
she did go armbar. She caught the. I
Silva.
was like, yo, why are you staying in her guard? Get out of there.
Yeah, Bueno Silva and Romero Borella, right?
Yeah. That like those I think the ladies that they definitely brought it this past weekend.
Don't worry, I'm cheating. I got the results in front of me, so I can pull it up for you.
I'm trying to pull up the rest of the cards. I don't remember a lot of the fights, but like I said, I watched all of them.
And
yeah,
then
the big stoppages were them.
Brian Costa, he looked good too with his knockout.
Randy Costa.
Oh, Randy Costa. I'm sorry, Randy Costa.
Yeah, that head kick. Yeah. You know, one of these things I would say is because they've been running so many cards and people have been at home stuck, you know, people are obviously starting to go back to work and do other things, but for the most part, they've been running all these cards, whether it's Fight Island or Vegas, and a lot of these people have been on these undercards, especially, you know, we'll get to Borz in a second, but you know, it's been given a spotlight to some of these people that people might not have necessarily paid attention to, because most people put the undercard on in the background. The casual fan would pay attention to the main card.
You know who stood out? Yeah, you know I agree with that. But you know why I think the big reason of that, I think it's a psychological thing. And just being the fact that I've been in there, I think my best performance today was a fight that I took on like 3 days notice. I was coming back from a cruise and literally I cut like 25 pounds then to take this fight. And it was my best performance by far. I think when you have no expectation and you have no pressure of going into a camp and you don't have time to overthink, I think a big problem of fighting is sometimes you create a monster that's really not a monster. But I tell guys, ask me all the time. A lot of people ask like, oh, do you get, you know, how do you feel? Do you get nervous before you fight? And to be honest with you, the part that you're the most nervous, at least me personally, is before the fight. When you're in the cage and you actually make contact with the person, you're like, oh man, this guy is just a regular person, you know? There's nothing that stands out to him, you know, like, oh, you know, and I think that's why we're seeing good performances from guys you don't normally know, guys that are taking fight. A lot of guys that are taking fight on short notice fight. I'll use an example. My boy Bill Algeo, right? Local guy, fought Ricardo Lamas, legend in the sport, right? Bill came in there on, I think, 4 or 5 days notice. Oh, he gave him a fucking hell of a fight. You can even argue Bill won that fight.
Yeah.
And why? Because he's fighting a guy who's a veteran, who's a former title challenger. He's got all the pressure on him. He's fighting a kid knowing
no expectations. You get knocked out, you get knocked out.
So you go in there with literally knowing it's a win-win for me. There's nothing that can happen that's really gonna make. And the guy fighting, I think it's the opposite. I think he's got all the pressure on his shoulder, so he's being more hesitant. You know what I'm saying? He's not taking that because now he's like, what do I know about this kid? I know nothing about this kid. And this kid fighting me knows everything. I've been in the UFC for I don't know how many years. He's seen me fight before. He knows what I like to do. So I think the pressure is on the guy who's already there on the card. So I think these fights are it's a higher reward fight for the guys coming in on short notice, which is coming a lot of the regional guys. You see guys come in, take your fight on short. They're all looking good for the most part. You know, don't get me wrong. Yeah, some guys are, you know, not performing, but also they take the fight on a short notice. Win-win for them. Now they're in the UFC.
It's like Derek, how do you say his last name? Minor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he was, a heavy underdog to TJ Laramie, right? Took the fight in like 2 weeks notice and got that guillotine on him too.
Yeah.
You know?
You know who stood out to me as well in the undercard? I'm looking at it right now. That kid, David Vorak, who fought Jordan Espinosa. I'm big on Espinosa. I know he's one of his trainers as well. I think he's really good. But Vorak came in, man, and that's the kid that got into MMA because he was a chess player and they was a chess room in the same room as the MMA gym. He's like, let me give this a try. Now the kid's a stud, you know, in the flyweight division. So the Vorak is a kid to look out for. I mean, he looked really good with those leg kicks. I'd like to see him and Tyson Nam mix it up. I think that'd be a nice fight.
That'd be fun. Real quick, we'll move up to the main card and then we'll hit up on Cowboy for a little bit since it's kind of like a Woodley situation. Kevin Holland versus Darren Stewart. That fight went back and forth. Like those two both rocked each other a number of times. Brandon, what do you think about that one?
I mean, hey, I'm not a judge, but I kind of thought Stewart took it, but that's just me. I mean, again, it was a good fight. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, I definitely thought Stewart took the third round, and I think I thought maybe might have took the second round. I think it was, but otherwise, man, it was still a good fight. I enjoyed it. You know, I like Darren Stewart, man. I like, you know, I watched a few of his fights, and I'm saying he brings it. You know, he throws good punches, and he tries to knock people out.
I mean, I thought it was entertaining. Sergio, what you think?
I thought it was a great fight. I'm a fan of both guys. I like Holland a lot. I think he's very well spoken. I think he always performs well. I think he uses his size to an advantage. Fights a lot like Brandon too, lanky guy, long. Uses his reach. I like that about Kevin Holland a lot. I think it was a close fight. It's one of those fights where, like, wherever it went, I was like, all right, doesn't matter. You know, it's close. It was so close where I can't see. You know, there was a second. I agree with Brandon. I think the second round was really close. I could have seen it going either way. But like I said, I like Holland a lot. I think he's going to be a power in that division. And both guys brought it. Good fight.
Yeah, I thought Stewart actually won too, but you know, the fact that Holland really got to him, especially late, I think got the judges, but could have gone either way.
I mean, I like that at the end, man, where freaking Stewart was just talking to him. He was like, come on, Kevin, as he was just straight smashing on him. I was like, yeah. I mean, but again, though, but that's what Kevin Holland likes. He likes talking. He makes it fun. So I mean, Darren Stewart, he was just giving it back to him. So I kind of liked it how they were just able just to kind of go back with each other, talk while they were just competing. You know, like saying like that's what you want. You want good competition. It's all in fun. You know, but you know, like. I just like that. I like that in the third round.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Brandon brings that up. That did stick out to me as well. And honestly, I love that shit. Some people take it as like a disrespect, as like offensive. But I mean, I come from an athletic background. I've played basketball my entire life. I came up playing street ball. That's the nature of the sport. You know, like you're shit talking the whole time. So even in fighting, like to me, it doesn't mean you don't have to be disrespectful to the guy. You're not offensive, but you're talking during the time. So I like that Stewart didn't back down.
I think it's funny now. Like it's always been known that, especially if you've ever been cage side or as you guys have been in the cage, shit talking is kind of a part of the sport. You just don't pick it up so much on TV because of the crowd and all the noise. I'm actually honestly surprised we don't hear more of it now that there is no crowd. I mean, at this point, you can even hear like Bisbing yell out and the fighter answer him.
Yeah, I've spoken to corners on multiple times.
I think they're purposely trying to be quiet.
Where I've like taken guys down close to the cage. I remember one fight specifically when I was fighting this kid. I mean, I don't want to mention the name, but I knew his corner because I've trained with him before. And I remember taking him down, and he couldn't get up for shit. And his corner is like telling him, like, get up, frame on his neck, push up, use the cage to come up. And I looked at him. I was like, come on, you've been in there with me. You know he's not going to get up. You know that. Don't give the kid false hopes.
Come on, Sergio. You got to say names, man. Come on, you can't be going.
I was in saying that,
Yeah. Come on, man. You got to name names. Come on, man.
What's his name? That kid from Henzo, PA, Eddie Alvarez. I thought that was.
The other Eddie. Oh, that was right before we interviewed you. 63.
And I fought his. I've trained because I've beaten the amateurs. His one of his coaches, Dan Smedberg, and I beat him too in an amateur. But that's
why you're talking shit.
I told him, I said, you've been in here with me. You know he's not going to get up. And I'm friends with Dan, so Dan, I'm not talking shit.
Nah, it's all love. It's all love. They can come on the show. Get them on. We don't have to spend much time talking about Darren Marcos. I mean, I'm actually honestly surprised Marcos went to the ground with her. I don't know why she didn't just, like when Darren slipped, I don't know why she didn't just say, get back up. But Marcos has always been super tough, so she probably thought she could work it out. But obviously, Darren, top level jiu-jitsu, that's not going to happen. You guys got anything to add to that one?
There's levels, man. I tell people this all the time. There's black belts, and then I don't know if Marcos is a black belt. Then there's black belts. She might not even be like I said. I know somebody who used to train Marcos for a long time.
She's just tough.
And listen, she could be tough all you want, but it's just like there's different levels, and Darren is on a different level of grappling.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how tough or how good Marcos is. I knew that if it got to the ground. On my podcast, we do a lot of like picks, and I do a savage pick of the week. And I was like, man, Darren to submit her is going to be the easiest play to make. I mean, I don't.
She tried to fight it for a while, like a few seconds. Like she tried, but she was locked.
Like I said, I've trained with world-class guys, and then there's really tough guys, right? That are like tough black belts, and I'm like, yo, this guy's tough. But then there's that extra level, like there's A, and then there's A1, and you're just like they're in a whole different league. You know what I'm saying? And you're just like, damn, you don't want to be on the ground with this guy. Like you have to do everything to not get to that.
Brandon, you got anything on that one?
I mean, like you said, there's levels. It's like I don't know why. I don't know. Like to me, I don't know why you'd want to go to the ground her. It's like to me, the girl, I mean, we've seen her fight before, Mackenzie Derman. We know stand up isn't her forte, so why not test her there?
I will say she was throwing some nice kicks.
Yeah.
Like I guess that kind of surprised Marcos a little bit, but she did try. Like,
Yeah.
and that's when she slipped when she threw that kick.
Yeah, but I feel that's even a little offensive, man. As a guy who comes from a grappling background, like when I fight a guy who's not a natural grappler and he accepts taking him in the ground, I take that personal. I'm like, damn, I'm going to submit you. I'm just, you want to take it here? You know what I'm saying? Same way as if I was to fight a boxer, a guy who has like a thick boxing pedigree or kickboxing pedigree, and me going, you know what? Let me stand and bang with him. Like, I no offense, I deserve to get knocked out. Why would I play into his game? I just think that at this, especially at that level, I think that's a little like you deserve to get caught. Like once she got caught, I was like, what did you expect?
Yep.
Speaking of knockouts, next fight, Johnny Walker, Ryan Spawn, Superman Spawn. Brandon, that's kind of right up your alley. That was back and forth, like boom, boom. I got you.
Man,
I got you better.
I thought, I mean, like Johnny Walker to me, like he's entertaining, but to me, I feel like he's suspect. You know, like to me, it's like you can catch him, and you catch him, he's on wobbly legs, and like I thought he was done, and then he started getting those elbows, and I'm like, man, was that to the back of the head though? Like, were they to the back of the head? Then he started going to the side, you know. But yeah, I mean, it was a good fight. It was entertaining. How long it lasted, you know, like. I'm saying, like, I like Johnny Walker,
2 minutes.
but sometimes I just feel like, man, the right person is just gonna catch him.
Sergio, you got anything to add to that one?
Yeah, I just think Johnny Walker's chin is it's sad to say at this point of like so early into his UFC career, but he's been fighting for a long time. But I think there's some guys that take so much damage, and I don't know if that comes from sparring or just being able, you know, like yeah, for the fans it's cool, man, but like he takes too much damage. Johnny Walker, his chin.
How do you think that kind of went down? Because at one point, Ryan looked like he was about to finish Johnny Walker, and then all of a sudden it flipped.
I think he just got a little overzealous.
He just got caught.
I think he went too crazy. Like you had him hurt, and that's the difference from the I guess intermediate to like mid-tier fighters to the veterans. You've seen guys like, you know, that Gray Maynard with Frankie Edgar fight stand out to me the most, right? Frankie was being tossed around the cage, getting knocked, and he was composed enough to be patient and say, okay, I know, you know, things are not going my way right now. Let me, you know, get my thoughts back together and come back and won that fight. I think same thing happened with this fight. I think Ryan Spann had him hurt and went for the kill versus just being more calculated and just say, let me pick my shots versus diving into a takedown on a guy who's already on wobbly legs. He went for the takedown that ultimately was what got him finished with the elbows. Why not take a step back and like, okay, this guy's hurt. Let me pick my shots right now because he's not going to be 100%.
Yeah. That's what I never understand is like when you get somebody hurt, like you caught him with a punch or a kick, why are you trying to take him down? Keep it standing. That's where you hurt them.
I wish they had me down if I'm hurt like that.
No.
Yeah, you give him a chance to recover. Last fight before we get on to Cerrone for a minute. Borz comes at Chimaev versus Rashad. Rashad's a veteran, but one punch. I mean, is this guy real or is this just, you know, lucky? Like, I mean, you guys are the pros. You let me know.
I mean, I was dead wrong on this fight. Like, I thought Rashad was gonna make him work. But my man came prepared. Like he said, he's just here to smash people and move on. So, I mean, I think he trains at AKA. So I think he, you know, I mean, he comes from a good camp, you know. So, I mean,
he's from Gustafson's camp.
Wait, say that again?
I think he's from Gustafson's camp.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's from Sweden.
Yeah.
He just finally got his visa. That's why he just was off for a little bit.
Yeah. Either way, man, like he just looks good. And I mean, we'll see. Like we'll see what happens when he goes up against Damian Maia.
I'm sure he trains with Gunnar Nelson and them.
Stays in there.
Look, fair warning. I'm biased. I'm friends with Gerald, so I was pulling for him here. I did think he was going to give him a fight. I'm still not, like some people are calling me a hater. I'm still not sold on this kid because I haven't seen him. Right? He fought two guys. He fought one Irish kid who's not a wrestler on 4 days' notice. Okay, took him down, beat him up. And then he fought another guy, the Welsh guy, who was a boxer, took him down, beat him up. With Joe, I thought he'd have a better fight. You caught him, props to him. I don't think it was a lucky shot. When you train as much as we train, I don't think you can blame that into a lucky shot. It wasn't like he's not training every single day to hit that shot. So you can't say it's like Michael Jordan, doing a million shots every day, and then he hits a buzzer beater, and you're like, was that a lucky shot? No, the motherfucker's been practicing that for a million times. So I don't think it was lucky. I think he caught Gerald. He was smart. I haven't seen enough of the kid to see if he's the real deal. I don't think I'll even see enough of him if he fights Damian Maia, right? You fight an older veteran guy who's on his way out. He's 40 years old. How old is Damian Maia?
Yeah, probably up there at 40, 38, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe over older than 40. I don't know. But if I find an older guy on his way down, who's not a wrestler, he's a grappler, doesn't have hands. So if Chimaev wants to keep it up, if that's how you pronounce it, wants to keep the fight standing, he's probably going to beat him up on the feet. And what do we get out of that? Like everyone who stood up with Maia pretty much beat him up on the feet. How does Maia get the fight to the ground? He's not going to take a young, hungry kid like that down. How does the fight get to the ground? Now, my only hope is that when it does get to the ground, Maia can submit him. Do I see that happening? Probably not. I'd like to see him fight a younger, hungrier guy who has somewhat decent takedown defense. Who's a good striker.
He reminds me, and it's probably intentional, but because he's already called Conor out a couple times. But he kind of reminds me of trying to be like a new, brash Conor McGregor.
I don't like him,
and so far he's backing it up. So far he's gotten, he got John Phillips, who, honestly, we all know John Phillips is going to come in and strike. Like, it's what he did over in England. It's what he came to a couple times in the UFC. He's trying to knock you out. If he can't knock you out, like he got caught in the choke, that's what happened to Phillips' last fight before that, I remember, too, in UFC. I actually didn't see the McKee fight where he won by TKO. I remember, I obviously watched the Whittaker-Till main event, but I don't remember his fight. I have to go back and look at that. But the Mershot thing kind of reminded me of McGregor-Aldo, though. Like, it just happened to be that I think Jarrett was looking for, maybe to grab him, and he just threw a punch first. And, Aldo was looking for that kick, and he got punched. Or they both threw a punch, actually, but
I think Joe was really trying not to get taken down and kind of didn't respect his hand, and that's why he got caught.
Yeah, it was just a clean punch. I don't know. I don't know if it should have been stopped. Maybe I'm crazy, but he went down and the referee immediately stopped it. And I guess he saw maybe Gerald's eyes gloss over, but usually you get a chance, at least a couple seconds to get your stuff back, and he didn't. So maybe eventually, who knows? But I think Dana's on the hype train, so I feel like he's going to go up and up until he loses.
But the UFC knows how to market those guys well. They know the right matchups to give them. And, the Damian Maia is a named guy who they're going to get him on his way out. So I think they're doing that. If that kid gets caught, though, that's going to be bad.
I'd actually like to see him fight, because he wants to go both, 170 and 185? I'd like to see him fight somebody else like Darren Till or somebody like that, see how he handles that.
Oh, I'd love to see him fight, actually, and this is Brandon's boy. I'd love to see him fight Uriah Hall.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I think Uriah Hall might slip up against Anderson Silva. Maybe that's nostalgia speaking, but if that fight takes place, I'm
still waiting for that fight to happen.
Yeah.
I was thinking Chimaev could go up against. What about Kelvin Gastelum? Wrestler, got hands too.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think he'd win that fight. Not from what I've seen so far. I don't think Borz would beat Gastelum. I think Gastelum's age too big. And the Gastelum barely made 170 when he did. I don't think that's a fight he should take. Not if he wants to keep going. Maybe Weidman. That might be a good fight.
I like Weidman in that fight too, man.
Yeah.
Very good long reach. And I think Weidman could beat him on the feet too. We haven't seen him really, right? That's the whole thing with this kid. He's a mystery. He threw one punch. Okay, he hit him, but
all three of his fights have been quick. The one went to the second round, but all three have been bam, bam, bam. He hasn't taken any damage.
That's why my whole thing is I want to see him in a challenged fight where he's facing adversity and it goes, so we can actually see what he's about.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the I don't know. The guy has been around since WEC. Talking about Cowboy Cerrone. the fight with Nico Price, I don't think any of us thought was really a draw. It was just because of the eye pokes and losing the point. Cowboy doesn't think it was a draw. Even he said he's taking off the rest of 2020. Let's see what happens in 21. Dana says it's time to step aside. Let's first talk about the fight, and then let's talk about where we think Cowboy should go, because there's been few fighters in this sport that have given as much to this sport as he has, as far as always ready, always going, fight after fight, exciting fight after fight. He's lost some big fights. He's usually lost the big one, unfortunately, but he's won a lot of other fights. So I want to talk about the fight, and I also want to talk where you guys think he ranks historically. Being as you both, Sergio definitely the grappling, Brandon with the striking. Cowboy can do both. People don't really know that he's actually, a really good jiu-jitsu guy. He trains with John Jones and all those guys out at Jackson's. He does the grappling. He has his own gym as well, Go ahead, Sergio.
I think he's an underrated grappler, actually. I think he's a lot better grappler than a lot of people realize, because he likes to strike so much.
He's tapped a lot of people out.
Yep.
He's tapped a lot of people out. It's not, people sleep on it. He has tapped a lot of people out. And Nico Price is definitely on the way up. He's had some really exciting fights too. But let's talk about the fight first. We talked about it with Woodley, kind of Woodley likes to feel out the first round, not start fast, weather the storm. Nico Price came out of the gate throwing bombs. Bomb after bomb. I don't know how Cowboy stayed on his feet. Cowboy's had a suspect chin the last few years. We talked about, Sergio just talked about it with Johnny Walker. Sometimes you take a certain amount of punches, your chin doesn't reply the way it used to. Cowboy stayed on his feet through the whole thing. Weathered the storm, as I'm sure I'll get a censored explicit tag for this, but Cowboy said himself after the fight, he thought about going down to a knee, and he said, I'm not going to be a pussy. Let's get up and fight. And then he did, and he started fighting back. But he didn't have the explosiveness that we're used to seeing from Cowboy. He threw some really good shots. My opinion, he should have kept going with those knees when he was in the clinch. Occasionally, Cowboy came up with those knees and would just catch him right in the jaw. And it rocked Nico a couple times to the point where Nico was a little bit hesitant to go in there after that. But Brandon, start with you. From a striker point of view, how did you see this fight going before the fight, and when it started, what were you thinking?
First, I gotta say this. Cowboy Cerrone, one of my top 5 MMA fighters. When I really got into MMA, Cowboy Cerrone was one of the guys who really I was trying to emulate after him and Carlos Condit, because they're both tall guys who strike, but also too they both had jiu-jitsu as well, where they would get triangles or arm bars from the guard. So really, those were 2 guys who I really looked up to. But Cowboy Cerrone, definitely somebody I look up to. So going into the fight, I just knew it was, to me, if it got going, it was going to be a barn burner, because like I said, Cowboy likes to bring it. Nico Price likes to bring it. That dude will bring it from anywhere, the ground, standing up, wherever. You can be on his back, he'll be on your back. It'll be nonstop. But then I thought to myself, I was like, wait, Cowboy Cerrone is a slow starter. Nico is 0 to 100 right away. So in my head, I'm like, Cowboy Cerrone is going to have to weather the storm, because Nico came out guns blazing, because that's how Nico Price is. He's here to have a good time. So is Cowboy Cerrone, but Nico likes to get right into it. Cowboy Cerrone, you maybe got to get 2-3 minutes into the first round before he really wakes up. And that's really kind of what started to happen. He started to kind of get his punches going. And like you said, he really is known for his kicks. But like you said, he really, I felt like, wasn't kicking as much as he normally does. And then just to me, it was a Nico Price fight. He was taking it to him. The eye poke happened. So that kind of, that gave him a point. But all in all, I thought if the eye poke didn't happen, Nico Price was taking that fight.
Sergio, what do you think?
I actually, on my show, on my podcast, I picked Nico Price to win for the exact reason, the way the fight went. I think historically, Cowboy doesn't do well with guys who move forward and pressure and are willing to engage in that brawl kind of style, moving forward and looking for the finish. If you go back and watch that fight, Nico Price didn't even have his hands up at all. He was just going in there and just saying, okay, you're going to punch me once, I'm punching you one. I'll take two of yours and I'll give you one back. And I think, like I said, historically, Cowboy doesn't do well with those pressure fighters. Also, I like Cowboy better at 55. I'm not saying he's tiny for 70, but I think Nico Price, just his frame was so much bigger. He's such a strong guy for that weight division. I think Cowboy felt that. If he fights again, I don't know. Who am I to tell the guy when and when not he should not retire? If I don't even know if I'm retired. I think that Cowboy has some fun fights at 55, though. I don't think he should be taking fights at 70 anymore. I think, was it entertaining? Yeah, it was a good fight. I think Cowboy, picked it up a little later, bit down the mouthpiece, came forward, was willing to exchange some leather. But I think Nico Price is just too explosive, too big, too strong for him. And I don't like that fight for him, man.
I mean, Nico has a history of knockout or get knocked out. Like before the Cowboy fight, his last 6 fights were either he knocked somebody out or got knocked out. Because he just comes straight forward.
Doesn't do well with those guys that are coming forward like that.
The last person I remember, Cowboy, maybe it's happened since then. Mike Perry likes to come forward, and he got kind of embarrassed by Cowboy. But
how did that fight end? You remember?
On the ground, right? He subbed him, right?
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Perry was beating him up on the ground, like ground and pound, and then got caught with an armbar.
Armbar, triangle, or something. Yeah. But I remember the Jeremy Stevens fight. I don't know if you guys remember back. This is probably 2012, maybe. It was a local fight in D.C. out in Fairfax, Virginia, and I was at that card because Poirier was fighting the Korean Zombie for the main event, and they were all staying at a hotel I used to bartend at, and I got to know Burt Watson and a bunch of those guys. And that's another story for another day, because I'm talking about Burt Watson. That's a whole podcast right there. But I love that. I absolutely love Burt Watson. But and I was talking to Cowboy before that fight, and I got to know his dad and his family, because they were all at the hotel and throughout the week. And for one, I've never seen a guy more relaxed before a fight. Like, they were running around literally. His dad told him about how the bottom of a wine glass, the circumference, matches the stem, because that's how it balances. And you look at this stem and you're like, no way that matches this. And he was running around with measuring tape, like measuring every wine glass we had, because he didn't believe his dad with the whole thing. So that was kind of funny. And it was also a little bit in the aftermath of the Brittany Palmer relationship, so that was awkward as well. But as far as watching the fight, though, he picked Jeremy Stevens apart. Like, Jeremy came rushing at him. And this is obviously, 8 years ago, Cowboy still in his late 20s, maybe 30 years old, and just pick. And every time Stevens would go, like, he'd just get picked apart by 3 or 4 punches. I feel like in Cowboy's head, and I can't speak for him, he's a legendary fighter, but in his head, I feel like, as with anybody gets up there in age, Sergio, like you, I played a lot of street ball in DC growing up. Played every sport, football, baseball, basketball, hell, even soccer for a little bit. I'm 43 years old now. In my head, can I go out there to the court right now and ball with anybody? Absolutely. But I know damn well in real life, these kids are going to run by me. Like, these 20-something-year-old kids are just going to blow right by me. Am I smart enough to do certain things on a basketball court? Absolutely, right? Like, you can, I hear Jordan say sometimes he could still do this and that, because in your mind, where somebody's going to go. So maybe you beat them to the punch, or maybe you predict something because you have the experience. Well, Nico Price is 30 years old right now, and Cowboy is 37, 38, something like that. I just think in Cowboy's mind, he feels like he should have been able to do what he did to Jeremy Stevens. Like, here's this guy coming running at him. But physically, he couldn't get his hands up in time. Like, Nico got across that cage so fast and just kept hitting him and hitting him and hitting him and hitting him, and like a broken record. And at one point, I know Cowboy had to be thinking, do I want this? And he admitted as much in the after fights. He admitted it. So it's hard for me to say that a fighter like Cowboy Cerrone should just walk away, because we know how much he's fought in the last few years. Maybe not as much this year because of COVID and everything else. But in the last 3 or 4 years, Cowboy's there 3-4 fights a year, at least. I think he had 6 fights, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And he's been in wars. He's been in with Pettis. He's been in, with Diaz and everybody else. So I don't know. It's like it's hard for me to say, thank you for everything you've done. Please don't get hit anymore. From a fan point of view, I don't want to see you get hurt anymore. But then he did go the distance. He did take the storm. Maybe like Sergio said with Woodley, maybe he fights somebody. It's maybe a 7th or 8th or 9th ranked opponent.
And then Woodley. Oh.
Yeah, maybe he gets a couple wins and rides off in the sunset that way. But can you really see Cowboy taking a fight that doesn't interest him?
I was gonna say, I mean, he likes to fight. Like, to me, he'll fight anybody, everybody. Doesn't matter if it's 170, 155. I feel like 155, he just doesn't want to cut the weight. So that's why I think he fights at 170.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to do the weight cut anymore. He said as much.
But my thing with him is what I've been thinking about after that fight was, I feel like he hasn't looked the same ever since he left Jackson Wink. Like, he now trains at the BMF ranch.
He does both.
He has his own coach and everything like that. Because I think he had a falling out with Winklejohn. Because I remember I think they were having some Twitter beef. So I don't think he's there anymore.
I don't know if he's there, but I know he did work out with John Jones a little bit before this fight.
Yeah, maybe, but to me too, I felt like, again, he hasn't looked the same ever since, not having Greg Jackson and all them in his corner like how he normally does. Now he has his other guys, and I feel like that's when he just hasn't looked the same ever since he kind of left them. Because sometimes, like saying, coaching can have an effect, because saying, they know who you are, they know how to get to you. I don't know if these new guys are just a bunch of yes men type of deal, trying to say, yeah, take this fight, do this, do that, you're doing great. And they don't want to call them out on anything, about maybe like Greg Jackson and Winklejohn, maybe they would have. So that's something that I was kind of thinking about, because I don't remember what was the last fight to kind of go back. Because like Sergio said, man, even like that Mike Perry fight, I didn't see the whole thing, because I was down in Atlantic City, I think, watching some local fights, and then I came home and my wife had the TV on, and I just walked in as he just hit the submission. But I think she was even saying he kind of was getting kind of getting a little pieced up as well from Mike Perry.
Well, after Perry, he fought Alex Hernandez. He knocked out Alex Hernandez in the second round, and that was a fight he kind of dominated, if I remember. He was picking Alex Hernandez a lot, just picking him apart. And then he went 5 rounds with Iaquinta. That went back and forth, I think, and he won the decision on that one. And he hasn't won since that fight. And that was 2019, so a year and a half ago or so.
Yeah, but I think all those fights, I don't think he was with Jackson Wink. I really don't remember what was his last fight with those guys.
I mean, he's been in the BMF range for a while anyway. Go ahead, Sergio.
I said he also had another kid now too, and back then he just had his firstborn, so that plays a big factor too. I always joke with my guys. I always used to say this when I had fights. I'm like, man, the same way they have weight classes, they should have classes for if you have kids, man. You have 2 kids, you got to fight in the 2-kid division. You have 1 kid. You fight
Nico's got 5 kids, so.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to find him in the division. You have no clue until you have your own kids.
He's got 5 mouths to feed.
You don't realize how, man, it's just a different game, man. It's so hard to train,
I mean, I only have 1, and she's 12, and it's hard to even plan, doing a podcast every week, right? Because her schedule comes first on everything. So having 2, having 5, oh my God, I'd probably just sign up for every fight I could if I had 5 kids just to get out of the house. But but I mean, I joke with Sergio sometimes online. I hear him, arguing with your daughter's in what, high school?
Yeah.
And I hear some of the stories he says about dropping her off and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I'm dealing with that at 12. I'm terrified now of a couple years from now. But
yeah, and the worst is the guys that have kids that are older. They're like, man, especially girls, they're like, it only gets worse. And then they're like, eventually it'll calm down. But right now you're in the middle of the storm.
No, it never gets better. It never gets better. I always joke about having a boy one day just to see what the easy life was like.
Yeah, yo, night and day, man.
Anyway, so what do you guys think about Cowboy's future? You guys think he should keep fighting? You think what's going on?
He's got fights in him, man. You know, he's got fights in him. I think he should still fight.
What about you, Brandon?
Yeah, man. I mean, like you said, I'm not someone to tell somebody when to hang them up. Like I said, you got freaking Yoel Romero, freaking 43 years old, still fighting out here. You know, it's like saying maybe just the top, the top of the heat. Maybe he doesn't fight those guys. Maybe he tops, 10, a rank 15 guys. You know, maybe that's just where he is right now. You know, but you're saying like I say, he still got fights in him.
Do you think because he's never won a belt, do you think he's still like, is he first ballot Hall of Fame, or is he just eventually Hall of Fame, or not at all? What do you guys think? What do you think, Sergio?
Yeah, Hall of Fame for sure. Cowboy, man, he's the reason why, he was the head of the WEC, man, that guy. He made a lot, he did a lot for the sport. It's not always about being the champion. Sometimes it's like, what did you bring to the sport? Same thing I say about, basketball, baseball, whatever. Look at a guy like Karl Malone, John Stockton, guys who never won an NBA championship. Do you put those guys in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely.
Yeah, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing. No, I agree. Brandon, what do you think?
Like I said, man, Cowboy Cerrone, one of the main reasons why I really got into MMA. And like I said, man, like you said, like he may not have won the championship, but he has affected people. Like think about Angela Hill. They like to call her the female Cowboy Cerrone. Why? Because she's trying to take fights all the time. Yeah. Even me. Like I remember my best year was when I was an amateur. I had 6 fights that year. And I got hooked on it, and that's what I wanted to do. I want to just keep on fighting because it's like that's what you want to do. It's like, yeah, anytime, man, I'm ready to go. So like saying like he has had that positive impact on certain fighters.
All right, guys. We'll touch real quick on Izzy and Costa this weekend and some of that card real quick, and then I'll let you guys go. I know we kind of ran a little bit long talking about UFC Vegas, so I don't want to hold up you guys' afternoon too much. But what do you guys think this weekend? Is it the style bender? Is it the eraser? Which undefeated fighter gets that loss on his record? Go ahead, Brandon.
So I was actually thinking about it earlier today. My heart says style bender because I always got to go with the kickboxer. But then my head started thinking, man, maybe Costa's the guy. The reason being is because I remember his fight with Yoel Romero. I remember his fight with Uriah Hall. Because I thought Uriah Hall was going to be one that was going to stop him. But the thing was, Costa just weathered the storm. Like, that dude will take hits. He will take shots, and he will just overpower you. Like, again, I think Costa has the power, but Izzy does have the striking. He has the precision. He has the movement. But then, though, you see his fight with Gastelum, he was getting pieced up. You saw his face at the end. And I just think Costa has more power than Gastelum. And I just think there's a chance where he could just catch him. But I'm hoping Izzy takes it. But like I said, man, my heart is with the style bender, but my head is saying the eraser might do it.
What about you, Sergio?
Man, if I'm being completely honest, as of today, what is it, Tuesday? I'm a flip a coin. I don't know which guy. I'm not certain about either guy. I think if you're going to go technique-wise, obviously Adesanya is going to pick him apart, I think. But Costa has that one-punch knockout. And I think that Adesanya, like Anderson Silva, I like all the, how evasive he is and how he's able to, get away from a lot of strikes. However, right, it's a 5-round fight, and all it takes for Costa, 1.
Yeah, he got caught a little bit his last fight. Like, Izzy didn't look – I don't want to say he went like Woodley-esque where he was just kind of being careful and getting that W.
Yeah.
But he definitely didn't look impressive against Romero. It does take 2 to dance, so we all know sometimes these matchups.
Power, man. I think he knew that Romero catches him, it'd be over. But I think Costa is even a bigger threat than Romero when it comes to that power, that one hitter. Tough fight to pick, man.
I mean, hey, like my man Stylebender has been stopped. He has been knocked out in kickboxing. Another Brazilian, my man Alex Pereira caught him. So I mean, it is possible. You know, I mean, Costa doesn't have the same striking, but my thing is, again, Costa is one of those dudes that will just go forward. Like he will take a strike to give a strike. And like Sergio said, man, he has that one power. Like I said, like that's what happened with his fight against Uriah Hall. Like to me, Uriah Hall was piecing him apart, but he just kept on coming and coming and coming, and then eventually he just overwhelmed him. You know, and like I just think that's what's going to happen. Like even with his fight against Yoel Romero, like I'm saying, like you saw Costa's face. You know, I'm saying he will get hit, but he'll bring it, and he's just gonna keep going forward. And that's why I just think for Adesanya, where it might get dicey. You know, like can he take that pressure going forward?
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. I think if I had to flip a coin right now, I'd say Izzy. I'd say Adesanya, but man, that's tough because while Adesanya has the height and the reach, if he keeps the distance, he'll win. If Costa gets inside and takes him down, I don't see Adesanya getting back up. I don't know, man. That could go both ways. I'm excited about that fight. Same with the co-main event. Another fight I don't think people are actually really even talking about, but the light heavyweight title, Reyes and Blachowicz. One could argue Dominic Reyes won that fight against John Jones. I had Reyes winning on the cards on my amateur scorecard at home, but what do you guys think? How do you guys see the light heavyweight title going? Sergio, you want to go and start?
This one I'm a little worried about this fight because I think Dominic Reyes' most prominent fight is not one he won on the record, right? Which is the one with John Jones, right? That always worries me because you can't pick a guy based on a fight that he lost, right? No matter how you look at it, in 5 years you're gonna go to Sherdog. He lost to John Jones. Doesn't matter what we think. I'm not saying I think he won. I think it was close enough, and I think that John Jones did just enough to win.
Yeah, no, I agree with you about the record thing. Like, I think, 5 years from now, we don't see how close the fight was. It was 100%.
Jan has looked good. He looked good. He really stood out to me against his fight against, I think, Jacare.
Yeah.
Am I going to pick him to beat Dominic? Probably not. I got to pick Dominic Reyes in this fight. I think he's going to beat him up. But I can see Jan putting up a good fight.
What do you think, Brandon?
Dom Reyes all day, every day. I think, like, was it years ago where Nick Diaz was fighting GSP and, like, you know, Nick Diaz was like, oh, I'm a fighter. He's an athlete. Dom Reyes, he's an athlete. That dude's, I think he's too athletic, going to be too fast, going to hit him with that jab, just like how he was doing with John Jones. And then, boom, he's probably going to catch him with a nice right hand, maybe finish in the second or third round. Dom Reyes, your new apparently interim light heavyweight champion.
No, it's for the real belt.
And I think full champ.
It's for the real belt.
That's for the belt because
gave it up.
I mean, that's what I know. But I think I read somewhere where I think though they still have it listed as interim for some reason. I don't know why.
Now, I mean, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, it's for the real belt because and on the UFC's website, it's listed for the title. So I don't know. I mean, Jones is officially listed under the heavyweights now. So actually, Jones is saying he might not fight at all now. So who knows?
Hey, man, he wants to get paid. I don't blame him. Get your money while you can. Just like Dustin Poirier, get paid.
I agree with that, but it's also kind of weird. Like, I don't understand. Maybe you guys can enlighten me a little bit better on this, but in the UFC, you have contracts, right? 3 fights, 5 fights. Anderson Silva had like a 10-fight contract. And you're assigned a certain pay for each fight, right? And I get negotiating more money for bigger fights. It's the fight game. It's been around since boxing and everything else. But you can't then turn around and say, all right, you're not going to pay me, so I'm going to go fight in Bellator because you're not a free agent. So I'm kind of confused how much leverage these guys really have to some of these fights. Obviously, Dana wants to bend like Masvidal. He bended at the last second for the Usman fight because he wanted, the first fight on Fight Island. He wanted to make that money. So I really don't know how much leverage Poirier has. I don't know how much leverage John Jones really has. Because really, the one fight everybody wants to see John Jones with is Ngannou. and Ngannou's lining up to fight Stipe. So, and I honestly don't think John Jones beats Stipe, but I do think he beats Ngannou. So that's a matter of matchups, and we can talk about that in another episode. I really think Reyes depends on which Reyes we get, because when he came out against John Jones, he came out kind of hot, and Jones came out kind of slow the first few rounds. But then the last couple rounds, whether it was the gas tank or whatever you want to say, John Jones was doing what you do in championship rounds. And then it really comes down to what happened that third round. I think Reyes won. Most people think Reyes won. Judges didn't. If he does that against Jan, I just don't see Jan slowing down. Like, I think Reyes is the more technical fighter. I don't see Jan slowing down. Jan obviously has losses on his record. He's 26-8. But one thing he's changed over the last year or so that really catapulted him up is now he just goes forward. Like, when I first saw Jan fight a couple years ago, I didn't think much of him. But now he's the next big guy because he's just running through people. So I think Reyes, if he keeps it technical, he'll win. And he might even knock out Blachowicz, but he's going to have to do it quick because if it goes late, I think he's going to lose. Run over a couple more fights, and I'll let you guys go. Any thoughts on the rest of the fights on the card? You guys have an opinion on I heard Diego Sanchez, he's still fighting. He's going to go up against Jake Matthews.
I'm looking at the card right now. I like, I'm interested to see the local girl as well, Sajara Ebanks, have a quick turnaround. She's back. She's fighting Caitlin Vieira. I'm excited to see her. She just picked up a big win that she was a huge underdog with. I'm excited for that fight.
Vieira just won a couple of months ago, though. Didn't the girl she's fighting, did she just win recently too?
Yeah. And I always like the little guy, the flyweights, only because I was the division I was in. So Cara France, who the UFC is big on, is fighting Brandon Royval. I think that's going to be a fun fight as well. Those are the two fights I'm looking forward to.
What about you, Brandon?
Same thing, Serge. I'm kind of interested to see what happens with Eubanks. Since she's out here now training in Jersey, so I kind of always got my eye on people who represent New Jersey now, or at least moved out here and training. See how she does. I really I wanted to say, like, this card coming up, I feel like the only fights I really were thinking about was the main and co-main. Like, this past fight card, I feel like had more fights I was a little bit more interested in.
Yeah, the Woodley card definitely had a lot of depth to it. There's a couple fights I'm looking forward to.
There was a fight.
Go ahead.
It was just Teixeira and Santos. I was looking forward to that one, but
I was waiting for that fight, but it keeps getting pushed back.
Yeah,
taking turns.
Honestly, I think no matter who wins the belt, I think Thiago Santos is the future of that division. I think he's going to be the champ.
I honestly thought Thiago deserved that shot over both of them. I think Thiago he didn't beat Jones, but to go 5 rounds, a fight he was winning in the early part with 2 messed up knees.
I like him more than Reyes, to be honest with you. I think Thiago Santos beats Reyes.
A healthy Santos is dangerous. He is very dangerous. I think he could beat both guys. So I was looking forward to that Glover fight. Unfortunately, Glover got COVID and then it got pushed back, and then Santos got COVID. So hopefully both those guys get full recoveries and we can see a really great fight when they finally do match up, maybe at the end of the year. One other fight, I don't really know much about either of these guys. Maybe you guys do. Hakeem Dawodu and Zabira I'm going to butcher his name, and I apologize. Tukhugov. They're on the main card as well, and I don't really know either one of those guys. You guys got any insight on that fight?
Yeah, Dodowa, Hakeem Dodowa. Yeah, I think that's how you say his last name. He fought one of my teammates, Julio Arce, a while back. It was a good fight. I mean, the man has hands. I'm really probably leaning towards him to win this fight coming up. Because I think the UFC is kind of high on him as well, so I think they kind of put him on this pay-per-view to kind of get some shine.
I don't know much about Zabaira, the guy he's fighting, but I know Dawodu who fought Julio. Julio's got hands, man. I love Julio. That's my man too.
Yeah, we interviewed Julio back in the day. We love Julio.
And I mean, he looked good against him, but I don't know enough about Zabaira, so. I mean, anytime someone beats someone I know, I will hope they win so that the loss on my the person I know's record looks a little better,
Yep.
like he's the guy who's also losing. So you lost the guy that won. So, I mean, I'm excited to see this fight. Yeah, that's a good fight, but I don't know about Zubaira. I got to look into him more.
All right. Any other fight cards coming up you guys are excited about? Bellator or Indies?
I mean, for me, of course, you want to see Gaethje and Khabib. That's definitely a fight. I think everybody has on their radar.
Every Khabib fight, I'm like, wait and see.
Yeah.
How many times did we wait for Ferguson? Him, what, 4 cancellations?
5 times, yeah. So, we'll see what happens. Like I think that's probably like the number one fight that everybody really has on their radar. And then I want to say I'm always interested to see what happens with Holly Holm. Because like saying ever since her title run, she's kind of going downhill. I'm hoping maybe this fight is the one that's going to bring her back up to the top and get back in that title picture. So those are really two cards that I got on my radar. And then I think for Bellator, I'm eager to see when my man Douglas Lima goes up against goes up for the middleweight title, because he looks like a middleweight anyway, but that dude fights at welterweight, but he looks like a middleweight. So I'm kind of eager to see that fight.
Being in your world, any kickboxing coming up that you're looking forward to?
Well, of course, always glory. November 7th, man, freaking the return of Badahari and my man Benjamin Adekbuyi.
When are we getting you back on a glory card?
That a lot of people ask me about that. Yeah, man. We're still in talks. I mean, just right now with everything going on with COVID and everything, they're all overseas, so you don't really kind of bring Americans over there yet. So
travel restrictions
with everything going on. So I'm kind of waiting. Hopefully next year we'll be back at it. I'm trying to see if something local comes up. But first thing, I got to get back in the gym. Got to make sure I'm staying ready out there. But
don't worry. I had the same question for Brad if he had jumped on this episode. For the people listening, Bradley DaSilva is supposed to be on. In the next few weeks, we're going to get some more fighters on. He's one of them. He had a quick knockout in Bellator, and we haven't seen him back in Bellator since. So
yeah,
definitely matchups and obviously contracts and everything else get involved sometime in the fight game. Sergio, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just getting back, like Brandon said, just getting back into training, man. I haven't been really training much. I've got, a little bit. I do a lot of strength training because that's what you're able to do now. A lot of guys weren't training. But, little by little, things are getting back to normal, I feel, and hopefully I'll get back in there. Other than just lifting and conditioning, I haven't really been able to spar and drill and do all that stuff. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to, just honestly getting back to at least close to form I was in before the COVID.
Yeah. I will say one other fight I'm looking forward to. Nobody mentioned Brian Ortega versus the Korean Zombie on October 17th. That one's on my radar. I love seeing both those guys fight. There's no backup in either one of them. I've been actually begging. I know Poirier won't go back down in weight. He won't go to 145. He won't go down to 145 again. And I don't see Jung coming up to 155, but I would love to see those two run it back. When I saw them live at that same card, I saw Cowboy. The Zombie actually, Jung just dominated the first early parts of that fight. And Poirier didn't get his confidence till late in the fight, and then it was just too late. And as somebody who wears his heart on his sleeve, most of us have seen Poirier in the cage, outside the cage. The tears are real when he's sad and he's upset, and when he wins, like the emotions are real. He wears his heart on the sleeve. In that fight, he was devastated after he lost that fight. I saw him in the hotel afterwards. He carried it on. He didn't let it go that night. He kept carrying it on. I would love to see those two run it back. Obviously, Zombie had some military commitments for a couple years in Korea. He's back full strength now. Just got over an injury, so I want to see him and Ortega throw down. I think that's going to be exciting. But gentlemen, hour and 15 minutes, not bad for a first episode. Before we go, I definitely want to send a shout out. Eric Johnson was a lead interviewer for artofmma.com for a long time. He interviewed both these gentlemen, both Sergio, Brandon twice. So shout out to Eric. He's he's doing his due diligence, working the full time at a high school in Virginia. He works 12 hours a day, so he would love to be on. We hope to get him on one day, even if it's just for a quick cameo. Brandon, Sergio, it's been fantastic. We'll have to find out what happened with Eddie. Lost connection, unfortunately, right before we filmed this episode, so we'll get him on for next week for sure. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Not bad for a first recording. Hopefully, didn't go off the rails too much. The segments kind of got a little bit blurred for timing wise, but that's what happens when people have conversations. I always say, if anybody listens to any of my other podcasts, the Certified Podcast, it's all about the conversation. I don't want to try to talk over you guys too much. Don't want you to try to talk over me, but to have interaction between all of us, have a nice roundtable discussion. You guys, we'll get on Eddie, we'll get on Brad, we'll get on some other people. Like I said, I'm talking to a few other fighters and other people in the fight game, get them on. I'm excited Art of MMA is back, even if it's just as a podcast. The one and only. There's a lot of imitation Art of MMAs on if you look online. Obviously, we let go some of the social media handles on Instagram and some other stuff. And people kind of jumped on those real quick. But if you're looking for us, The Art of MMA on Twitter. All the podcasts will be listed there. They'll all be on dcxiv.com. Artofmma.com obviously goes straight to DCXIV, so you can find all the content, not just MMA, but all the content we do, including interviews with Sergio, interviews with Brandon. We're definitely going to get more interviews with fighters coming up. I don't know if it'll be like a segment or a whole episode. We'll try to work that out. I was originally going to do 15-minute segments, but honestly, you start talking to some of these guys, unless we have them as a guest like you guys and just do the whole episode, you're not going to get enough out of them. So we may do dedicated interview episodes. Definitely once Brandon gets back fighting, once restrictions start going, Sergio, if he decides to strap him up again, I'm sure the savage will come out of him and he'll tear somebody up. So we'll look forward to that. But yeah, one and only. On Instagram real quick, Art of MMA Official. Facebook, just Art of MMA. Guys, you want to plug your social media real quick so people can find you? Sergio?
Yeah, man. I'm at the Savage 125. That's a weight class I once upon a time used to make. I kept that THESAVAGE 125. Thanks a lot, man. Mike, I appreciate the time, man. I appreciate having me on.
If you want, you can go ahead and plug the other podcast too. I have no worries.
Fight Cave podcast that I used to do with Everlast. Now I'm doing it with my man Matt, Colby, and Kyle. So that's something we do. It's more of a betting podcast too. We speak about odds of the fights and who we think. We do parlays and all that. So I know nowadays a lot of people like to bet on these fights. So
yeah, it's big. They show the odds on every damn card.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure UFC's got a cut being there right there in Vegas. But don't worry about it. Please plug other podcasts, plug whatever. It's all love. It's all MMA. So, Brandon, what you got going on?
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Cuttino TSMA. That's BCUTTINO TSMA. Twitter, Instagram. Twitter is where it's at. You may want to interact with me, really. And then also I have a Facebook like page, which is Brandon the Mechanic Cuttino. That's really all, man. Right now I'm just staying busy, teaching at the school, interacting with the students. And, hopefully I'll get back to training real hard. Hopefully might get some action. I'm hoping maybe by the end of the year, because I know there's promotions in New York that are doing some things like upstate. So maybe I might try to set something up there or maybe like Long Island.
Yeah, me and Brandon might actually have to do a couple different podcasts. We've been chatting on Twitter about all kinds of things, from wrestling to like video games to everything. So me and Brandon definitely got some vibes. And then Sergio, Brandon, back and forth, Jets, Giants.
Yeah, man.
Listen, we got to feel bad for Sergio.
I love Twitter the most, man. All this, I can't believe Twitter is even bigger than it is, man. Because to me, that's where you interact with people the most. I met great people on that.
The only thing I don't like about Twitter, and I've been on Twitter since day one, the only thing I like about Twitter is they're doing the same thing Facebook does, where they do the algorithm, right? Like they try to get rid of you watching the latest tweets. Every time you click on latest tweets, eventually it goes back to the other algorithm of like what they think you want to see.
Yeah.
I don't like that, man.
I want to see what's going on live. Like if I want to see highlights, then I'll click on somebody's page. Like Twitter is for me is what's going on in real life. If I'm watching a game, if I'm watching a fight, I want to be able to interact with everybody. If I want to talk to my friends and family, I'll go on Facebook or Instagram. But if I want to just talk shit to the world, it's Twitter, because to this day. So I'll make sure I include links for all you guys. Go ahead, Sergio. What?
I got to run right now. I just realized the time. I didn't notice it was already past.
Yeah. Go ahead and take off. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Include links for everything in the show notes. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll get you guys back next week and we can do it again.
Yeah, tag me and I will retweet. Make sure I share everything, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Later. Have a good one.
Later, guys.